This is a print that I'm making off of this reference photo that I took while I was out on one of my inspiration bike rides. You can see that inspiration video up here. I'll put a card. So this is a gas lamp that I found in a garden on Commercial Street here in Provincetown. I sketched it and did a color study and came up with this. And that's what we're going to use as our color reference as I paint the wood block and print it. So this process that I'm doing is known as a Provincetown Print. It's a white line watercolor wood block. So this is a basswood block that I have laser engraved from my original sketch, and we're going to paint it out. So I'm going to start with the sky because the sky always is a good place to start. So the paints that I'm using, these are Kuretake Gansai paints and also some Schminke Horadam gouache that are sometimes mixed with Daniel Smith watercolors. So I'm trying out lots of stuff. I primarily used the Kuretake in the past because that's what I had, and it was pretty good, but I'm finding that using actual Western gouache like the Schminke is much preferable for this process because I'm painting out solid blocks of color, and I want them to transfer relatively well from the wood block to the paper. So the paper that I'm using is Arches Reeves. I think it's the 280 pound or 280 GSM. Not sure which. This is cut down from a gigantic sheet. Uh-oh. I have things falling off my desk in the background. So see how smoothly that came out? It's like, woohoo! And when there's a lot of wood grain, it transfers really nicely too. So you just see how like creamy smooth this paint is. And this is based on and this blue is a mix that I made with the Schminke Horadam gouache and the Daniel Smith watercolor. Print that bit. But I love trying different kinds of paints. One of the reasons that I've started using some of the Schminke and Daniel Smith paints is that they are much more light fast. Kuretake doesn't actually provide any light fast information. So I'm never quite sure, how long, how well this stuff will last the test of time. And I'm primarily using them on the gouache paints on larger prints. Like this is a little bit bigger than my usual, or it's a different size rather. It's not actually bigger. It's a 5x5 instead of the typical postcard size that I've been doing. So when I do these larger ones, I'm doing it on more expensive paper too. So it's the watercolor papers, either the Arches or the Meaden, but I really prefer the Arches, so if I have it, I use it. Skies can take a long time, and you got a lot of sky. And just look at how smooth that is. I'm so happy. A couple of people have asked, why do you use watercolors? Why don't you use acrylics or oils or printmaking inks? And the reason for that is twofold. One, cleanup with watercolors is vastly easier. It's non-toxic, and it works well in a small space, right? I don't have to futz about a bit like I would with acrylics. I don't ruin my brushes if I forget to clean them. Watercolors are much more forgiving. That's really it. I just don't really like acrylic. Oils don't really work in this because you don't have they just don't transfer well. And printmaking inks are inks instead of paint, so you can't really get a painterly effect if that's what you're going for. You also need a lot more equipment if you're doing this as like a, like as a relief print with a roller. It doesn't really work. This technique is meant for brushes and paints. And I really love doing this technique because it takes up so little space. I can do it in my tiny little studio apartment, and I can take it out with me, to the beach or to a bench outside the library, and I can make prints kind of plein air, which you can't do if you need a press and all that gear. I do love those kinds of printmaking techniques. They just don't really suit my stage of life and the amount of space I have. If I had a lot of space, I would actually have a letterpress. I had one many years ago, but when I moved, it wasn't able to go with me. Piece of something there. There we go. I forgot what I was doing here. Let's go back. I also think, though, this is art, right? So this is about you expressing how you see the world. So it's not about, one technique versus the other. It's what technique calls to you and what makes you, want to get up in the morning and go make a print. I get some side eye sometimes when I talk about using a laser engraver for carving, and that's okay. I have physical limitations. I mean, I can't carve, so I've found a way to still do engraving without having to, put my health at risk and hurt my hands. And the actual engraving process is something that I've never really enjoyed, and I think it's because I have a very hard time with it and it's really painful. So being able to do this with, you know, some technology makes it accessible for me. I know all of the inside of this needs to be blue, and then I've got to figure out where my fence line is. Let's do this bit. My laser engraver just finished. It's doing a postcard size lady slipper. It's a lady slipper that I saw on one of my hikes out in the seashore when I was out doing my Dune Shack residency. There's a video about that somewhere if you're interested. Want to see what life is like out in the Provincetown dunes where there's no electricity or running water. I also realized after I started recording this that normally when I'm doing these, I will reflect the image in software so that it is engraved backwards. And I didn't in this for some reason. Just had a brain fart. So you'll see that the block matches this, which it shouldn't. The block should be flipped. So instead of getting this, I'm getting this. So I'm just kind of backwards, but that's okay. I can always make another one if I want to. And sometimes it's fine. Like I might like the lamp reading that way in the final print, but sometimes the composition is intentional or has identifying elements that mean that it should be in a particular direction. So I need to redo it. I did this one at an odd size too, because I just liked the crop on this, rather than trying to have you know, a 4x6 of a subject, which I didn't really want the whole thing to be the lamp. I wanted more environment around it. Yeah, the original sketch of this is much larger. I just cropped in and picked the bits I wanted for the print, which is one of the wonders of digital art these days. Being able to crop and trim, and the joy of the undo button. I like that. I got some good variation there. And sometimes too, when I get splotchiness like that, I don't fight it, because maybe I'll go back, hit it again, see maybe I didn't press hard enough. But often what that means is that's just the wood. That's just how the wood is treating this. And then if I were to go and paint over and over it, it just gets overworked, and can sometimes look even worse. And for anyone who's painted, you probably have gone through that. You think it's not quite right, and then you overwork it, and your colors get muddy, or in the case of a print, things lose alignment, and you lose registration. This little bit is very finicky. I'm trying to not have tons of little finicky bits, because I know they don't print well. One thing about this gouache too is that it dries really quickly. So I'm not going to worry too much about getting blue all over my hand when I'm touching the block right now. Let's see, am I? No, I'm not getting any blue all over my hand. So once it's printed, you know, most of the pigment is gone. I mean, there's some that was absorbed by the wood, but it's not on the surface any longer. And you can see here how that picked up more. It's not as dark, and it picked up more of the scorching. Let's see what's next. So that is all the blue, almost all the blue. Now I have to make a choice here. You can see on here, I didn't draw a line for the shrubberies because I didn't want a white line through the middle of the fence. So we're just going to go in and paint like halfway, just to see how that goes. Let's see what we got there. Okay. Just realized I missed a spot inside the lamp. I need to do this bit here and this bit here. But we'll finish up the fence first. Do this one all the way down. Good. It's looking good. Need to do it in there. So the weather here in Provincetown, it is finally summer. It is like 80 degrees outside right now, which is why I'm inside painting. It is high noon, and I don't want to scorch myself. So I tend to plan to be indoors during the hottest time of day. And then I run my errands in the morning and then stay indoors until like 2 o'clock or so, get stuff done, and then from 2 on I can be outside again. Keeps my skin from scorching. It's also midday is a really bad time to be out shooting video because there's no shadows, and the sunshine here with the ocean and the harbor and just lack of shade trees, it can just be brutally hot for video equipment, just like it is for people and for doggies. So you can't really sit in the sun and shoot video, which is one of the things I like to do, is sit outside and shoot video. I'm just going to miss another little bit over here. One of the things about chatting and painting, I'm always amazed at artists who do original works while they talk about them. This is hard enough for me. All right. That is blue. So we did blue. completely. So I'm just checking. Yeah, we got the blue. So next, we'll go up into the upper left. I'm going to do the tree. And the tree is just going to be dark brown. Nothing special. I'm going to grab, I'm going to do raw umber deep. Why am I doing this? Before I forget, I like to write these things down. This one is 47. Do the, I actually want to check and see. Okay, I'm using an old iPhone to do these overhead videos, and sometimes it just stops recording for no particular reason. Oh, I just noticed I missed some more blue. That should be blue. This paper is so much better than the postcards. I mean, I love doing the postcards. That was a lot of fun. But those are great for origami, for painting directly on, but for doing this kind of white line print, this printmaking paper is so much better. It's just so much smoother. One more branch on this side. All right, and then we've got this tree on the right-hand side. Okay, I did not grab enough pigment for that. I have been experimenting with doing some larger prints. But what I'm running up against is just my space constraint. You know, my desk is only so big. And also the laser engraver has a size limit to it. So there's only so big I can go, which is essentially kind of 12 by 16. So I'm trying out kind of a 8 by 10-ish range. Because sometimes I want to get lots of architectural details in, and you just can't do that in a tiny little 4 by 6. They just don't. I just don't have the resolution. In order to successfully make these, my engraved lines need to be kind of a particular minimum width and depth. So there's only a certain level of detail that I can get to. Okay, I'm happy with that. I left some blue out. I'll come back for some blue. So the only way to get more detail in is to either hand carve with really tiny tools, like wood engravers do on a end grain block, or go just go bigger. Let me show you while this is. I'm going to let this dry a little bit. Clean that brown brush. Okay. Here's one. So this is Captain Jack's, which is a wharf in the West End. You can see the monument, and I put a little guy in kayaking and a little bird. It's just kind of a little scene. This I actually drew it, for a postcard, and you can't fit all this detail on a postcard. I mean, each one of these would be like one brush stroke. And even at this size, there's still kind of only one brush stroke. I had thought about going really wide with this, but this is the biggest piece of what I have. So I'm kind of constrained. I could, tile a couple of pieces together, but for now, this is what I wanted to try. So this is, I think, roughly 8 by 10, not exactly. I think it's just the arbitrary postcard size upscaled. And I've done some experimenting with a couple of others. What have we got here? Oh, this one. This is one of the I did out in the dunes. It's I call it Dune Rose. It's a wild Rosa rugosa. And I've also been experimenting with adding borders. I think sometimes that's nice to have. These things are all going to fall behind my desk. All right, we've got a couple more colors to go. Now in this sketch I did 2 different greens, but I'm just going to pick one green and go with that. And gray for the lamp itself, and then a little yellow highlight for the lamp, for the gas bit. And then all of the posts are just white. They're just, and these little, whatever these were, it's like a little bit of snow fencing or something. So yeah, so I just have a lot of green. And and in the sketch I did different shades of green through there. I'm just going to go with one shade of green. So we need to pick a green. Now, the green that I've been doing a lot with lately is this kind of ivy green. And I like it if it comes out dark. So we're going to try that. We're going to try some ivy green. I hope I like this. I hope you like this too. When I have a lot of blue in a painting like this, I like to try to keep with bluish tone colors, and this is a very bluish green. Actually, I don't need to be all persnickety about that because this is green in here too. Pause there. See what this looks like. Oh, I like that. And I'm not a big fan of like the sap greens, the very yellow greens. They just don't speak to me. I mean, sometimes they're necessary, right? But if I can get away with using a different green rather than a sap green, I usually do. It's not just because I don't like that color, it's just that I don't really see that, right? That's not. I see this stuff as much more blue. And when I'm looking at this print, you know, the important thing is not the accuracy of the color of the leaves, it's the lamp, right? It's that you want to see that it's a lamp in a garden. So that is what we're trying to say with this. You notice here too, like it didn't pick up a lot of the green here because of the wood. And that's okay. I never want to force the paint and the block to do something that it's obviously not going to do. And that's part of the fun of this too. You never quite know what you're going to get. It's always a certain level of surprise. My air conditioner and my little fan are cranking, which is good. The air feels nice, but you probably are hearing a vast amount of background noise. You can hear the water running through the pipes. It's amazing how when you close the windows, the soundscape changes so dramatically. And that was one of the things I really enjoyed being out in the dunes during that residency, because I wasn't having to listen to refrigerators and plumbing and electric buzzes. Honestly, I don't think we're very aware anymore of all the sound that all the electronics make. I love it in the winter when the power goes out here. I mean, I don't love it, but I love the sensory experience of the power going out because suddenly it's silent. After some of that really smooth sky, we're getting lots of variety in the green. Oh, and this weekend is Pride here in Provincetown. They started a number of years ago. They started doing a Pride event at the beginning of June. So why am I doing a gas lamp? Well, try not to arrange my life based on the theme weeks. Otherwise, it would be very disjointed. So I noticed, and I'm looking down, that came out nice. I'm looking down here. I didn't see how there's a line here to divide these two, but because there's no color there, it's just a blob. I may end up giving that a hit of color. Now, my trick for dealing with that has been to use GoFun White, which is like a seashell-based white. So it's not really white at all, but it is white enough, kind of slightly off-white, but it's enough that what it'll do is it will let me get a tiny bit of definition where I need it in an area where I'm not painting. So I'll use it sometimes on house trim that is white, that I'm not giving it a color, so I will use the GoFun White. I've tried using other white colors, but they just kind of look weird because they're not, I don't know, they just look odd. They just don't sit with me. They look like I've applied white paint, which is not the look I'm going for. I like the texture. Happy, happy. So since I mentioned that Go Fun White, I figure I will show you. If I can, this green is really not wanting to come off this brush. Okay, Go Fun White. Let's see if I've got it handy. Yes. So this is the Go Fun White. So it's made with seashells. So it doesn't look white at all, right? It looks kind of beige. Let's see what we get. Because I don't want beige. I want just kind of like a translucent glaze. All right, so we're just going to go over these guys. Probably can't even really see it. It's just kind of like a little milky. Let's see what it does. So see, it does, it blurred a little bit of the green. It reactivated it. That's a bummer. But I will go in and do these two as well. Be a little more precise here. So it gives a tiny bit of separation. So you're not just looking at the paper. There we go. So that's what that was about. So that was a little bit of a side quest for some Go Fun White. But I'm not going to do the posts, I don't think. I can always change my mind, right? We're going to take a break, and then when I come back, I'm going to do gray and yellow, and that should be the end. All right, I am back. We're going to do gray and yellow. Finish this guy off. So this is another gray. I ran out of gray, ran out of Kuretake gray, so I made my own. This is Schminky white and black. Unfortunately, I mixed it a little darker than I had expected it to be. I thought it would be a lighter gray, like what it looks like right now when it's wet, but it dries very dark. So I may need to mix a lighter version. And that is the thing that I'm loving about mixing my own little paint pans, is that I can get colors that I want instead of colors that already exist. So you can see that that is pretty dark, and it's darker than it appears when it's wet. So finish this. So this part of the lamp is known as the globe, and sometimes they are aluminum, spun aluminum, sometimes they are like a milky glass, sometimes they're clear. In a lot of cities where you see original gas lamps, like in parts of Boston, some will still have the glass ones because they haven't been broken yet. But typically new installations in urban environments that aren't residential, you know, like on a private property, on a street, they will typically be this spun aluminum type. This is the one that I had. That's the kind that I had in my backyard in Boston. And this is known as a boulevard lamp. So it was interesting too when I was obsessed with gas lamps back in the day. I did a ton of research, and often lamps, garden lamps that people install at their homes are so underscaled. They are tiny. And it's strange because people's homes have gotten so big, but their lamps in their garden are like way off proportion. They're way too small. So this lamp, one of these boulevards from the tip to this bit here, is about 48 inches. So that's 4 feet. Right? That's a significant lamp. And the posts are typically 12 foot tall. So to get to the top of the lamp is a good 16 feet in the air. It's not a small lamp. This one is on a short pole though, because normally like this pole down here would be a city type light post, and I think theirs is just a pole. To buy one of these today, a new one made by a company that's been making them for 100 years, the lamp head is about $1,000, and the poles have gotten really expensive. I think it's because they tend to be iron, they tend to be cast iron, and they're huge, so they're difficult to ship. But they're about $2,000. So you're in about $3,000 for a lamp, which I don't think a lot of people are going to invest that in their landscape. You can sometimes find them at vintage, like reuse stores, places that have old windows and old, old house parts. Now for the yellow, so architectural, parts places. I think the lamp post that I had, just picked up tons of gray. Just put a whole ton of gray in my yellow. Peanut butter in my chocolate. This is cadmium yellow. Swatching it out over there. And I realized I didn't do this bit. Often that is brass, but we're going to make that aluminum in this case. If it's an actual gas fitting, it would be brass because it needs to be, code for plumbing. This one I'm pretty sure just had a light bulb inside of it. When we went by, it was daytime, so I haven't gone back by at night, which I probably should do, to see what it looks like at night. I think that's it. Now I'm looking at it going, okay, since I used the Go Fun White there, I'm going to use it on the posts too. Because the posts have some detail. You can see like this has a line through it and the top of it is separate. So I'm going to give in to my own pressure. This color is really hard to see, so I tend to apply too much when I'm doing this. Stay away from the green so I don't reactivate it. So hopefully we'll get those lines in here. Yeah, there you go. So you can see it's kind of a subtle beige. Do it on this guy. And it also picks up some of the charring of the wood, which is kind of neat. So it adds a tiny bit of texture. And just be a completionist. A tiny bit there. Ta-da! So that is it. That is gas lamp 5x5 version 1. There's a version 2 which is flipped. So that's it. A garden gas lamp in Provincetown. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for tuning in. I do one of these pretty much every week. And I have a whole bunch of these inspiration videos that are coming. You can see the inspiration video where I found this and came up with the idea for this print. I'll put that card above, so if you're interested, go take a look. And as always, if you like these kinds of videos, hit the like and subscribe buttons. It lets the algorithm know that you want to see more like this. So again, thanks for joining me. I am Rick in Provincetown. I make white line Provincetown wood prints. So that's my thing. Thanks again. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.